What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Madmen Pod, where we talk brands, business strategies, and marketing campaigns. We had a little bit of a snafu last week. We had technical issues, and it was with good intentions, but we tried to do this in-person recording in Dallas at my office, and we tried to use our virtual software, and needless to say, it didn't work out. But at least we got Salim and Samir to meet. That was a nice little core memory for us. But we did get a lot of threatening texts and messages for not posting last week. I mean, but here's the thing. Oddly enough, those like threatening messages and us not posting made me feel kind of good that we're doing something right. Wouldn't you guys say? So, look, this week we'll be back on the content grind. We'll make up for lost time. We'll put up some good stuff.
We got all together. Two things. One, we didn't take a picture. Like, how do we end up there and not take a picture together?
I know.
And I say that because everybody will realize that, we get on these calls and we're on video, but I'm clearly the shortest guy in this group. Like, I'm like miniature, compared to these giant 6-foot giant guys. But yeah, man, this episode is going to be fun. So I think we'll be back in good graces.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. We're talking vapes, we're talking beer, we're talking ice cream, a little bit of retail. Guys, let's get into it.
Oh, have you guys seen Deion Sanders? Like, his Colorado team just beat TCU pretty bad.
Incredible.
Well, if you ever want a good like Motivation Monday, watch his hype videos of how he like does his hype up speeches and stuff. But one thing he always does, like his signature thing, is after he's done with his big hype session with his team, he'll end it with "Play my theme music." So that's what I'm gonna say here. Play my theme music.
Men go mad.
Who's gone mad?
Madmen.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Madmen.
I'm mad.
All right, so this is the segment where we discuss duds or studs with marketing campaigns. This first one is about vaping. Do you vape? If so, you're going to want to hear this. The innovative Ditch the Vape campaign, Get What's Yours, PSA from the Evelyn Lilly Lutz Foundation, is departing from the norm. It confronts teen vaping by emphasizing the financial consequences instead of the health risks. So it's a complete pivot from the typical, quit, don't smoke thing. It's talking about more of the financial side. The campaign shifts focus from the warnings of to the astonishing fact that teens spend $1,000 to $1,500 annually on vaping alone. So the McCann Global Group kind of came up with this campaign and showcases alternative ways that teens could invest their money, from sneakers to musical instruments, to basically do things that are more in line with your passion. And it's rooted in research indicating that highlighting opportunity costs resonates actually better with teens. Makes sense, right? Like, you don't want to be told what to do. You just kind of want to think of it more in a positive way. So really, I mean, this is the discussion, right? The PSA was filmed at Beverly High School, starring real students to maintain authenticity. The question on hand, though, is this campaign going to be a stud? Is it going to engage the youth and really make a change, or is it going to be a dud? Let's hear it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Ads that to fight against smoking in general goes back to the old truth ads. You guys remember that? And all of them really focused on those health consequences of smoking. And frankly speaking, I don't really think they ever really worked. One, because smokers couldn't give up because of the nicotine effect, of course. But it was also never really effective at mitigating that social cost of not smoking. It was then, and it still is, cool to smoke, unfortunately. And vapes just made it look and feel even cooler. We got these different flavors, these cool looking devices. You can do these like kind of party tricks with the smoke now. But what I like about this ad is that it shines a light on a very different sacrifice that you are making by choosing to vape. And that's the opportunity cost, the thing that you could achieve if you didn't vape. So it's hard to tell if this specific ad will work well. But what I do think is a stud move is to shift the message away from the health costs and focusing on the opportunity cost. And I think this ad talks about the things that money can buy you if you didn't vape, which I don't really think the financial cost of vaping will really resonate enough, but it opens the door to get young vapors to think differently about their decisions. It has always been about, to smoke or not to smoke. Now we are talking about whether to smoke or to enjoy the other things users love. And it prompts a much stronger behavioral conversation that users need to have with themselves. I think it's a really tough battle to fight, but we are seeing this shift to a much more powerful argument against vaping. And I think that's a stud move.
So I'm going to pick on one thing you said, Summers. You said literally that, hey, the financial cost of vaping will not really resonate enough with these guys. And I think that's the challenge in this campaign. Look, I am not for vapor, so let's be very, very clear that I'm not for vape. And I think there's some new laws that went into effect in Texas specifically. My wife's a teacher, so I know these things. That, hey, if you get caught on, with the vape pen on campus, you get written up and you get suspended for that. But I think the problem in this campaign, really much going back to the truth ads, is there's a message missing for the youth that's involved. And I think that's the challenge in this campaign, is that the financial cost, look, is a young 18-year-old, 21-year-old is he going to look at his pocket and be like, hey, look, I could have $1,000 in my pocket and go buy some sneakers. No, he's not. He's going to be like, oh, wait, I have $10 in my pocket. I can go buy a vape. He's still going to see that. And then all this is going to do is basically discredit the campaign more than it is going to provide positive impact, right? So I think that's the challenge in this campaign. Look, I like the idea of going in a different route, and we've got to do something about all this vaping and smoking, and we all know that's not very good for the health. Yes, it's become cooler. I agree with you on that. But I think the problem in this really is that I think there's a big miss in this campaign around what they're trying to achieve and the target audience. They've got to figure out a way to make it cool, make it relevant, make it impactful to the people that are the audience of this campaign.
Aren't teens like the thing they care about most is how they're perceived by their friends and by the public? I think if they just did a montage of celebrities or influencers, like seeing someone, their reaction to seeing someone vape, and they could just be saying, gross, gross, gross. Like it's just this montage of from Kim Kardashian to whoever, just making that look icky and not cool, or that. And these are people that teens look up to. Now suddenly they're doing something that's would not be in the good graces of these influencers. They'd be like, okay, never mind, I don't want to do this anymore. $1,000, $1,500, maybe it's me being closed-minded, but I don't feel like it's that much for them to stop the day-to-day decision to not smoke. Like I agree with Salim. Like I think they would be like, oh, it's $10. Like I'm not going to worry about what I have at the end of the year. I need that immediate satisfaction. But if you're talking about going the behavioral route and really messing with someone's psyche about quitting smoking, you need to kind of hit them where it hurts, which is their reputation. And so if you have a potential influencer calling them gross by smoking, then that's going to be like, okay, yeah. And you're really kind of using it against them, which is sad. But if you really want people to stop smoking, then maybe you call them gross, and especially teens.
I think we overestimate the power of what celebrities can do when it comes to these types of things. I don't think people are choosing to vape because they think they have they see a celebrity do it and they think it's cool. They're doing it because the popular person in their class is doing it. And do we really think that a celebrity is going to be able to counter against that? I don't think so. I think you guys are right that it's a really hard battle to fight. I think the challenge here is how do we make vaping uncool? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why this kind of opportunity cost angle. Yes, you're right. Like $1,000, $1,500 a year may not be enough to convince them to stop vaping if we're only looking at it from that argument. But the next time they see those sneakers that they might want to buy or that comic book collection or all the things that they point out in this ad, then they might think twice about why they are not able to enjoy that particular passion and connect it back to this reason. I think you're making a direct link between something they love with something that they're doing. Yep. I think to date, it's always been like vaping is bad for you. And then there's the argument that like, well, cigarettes are worse. And that's why vaping is okay because it's quote unquote better. And there's like the rational side of the argument, it just doesn't make sense for a vapor. And it hasn't made sense to them or else they would have changed their behavior. But now we're talking on their emotional sides. Like now we're tapping into their passions. And I think that's the stud thing here is you're making them feel differently about their decisions. Because logically speaking, we all know the harmful effects of cigarettes, yet people still smoke. We all know the harmful effects of vapes, yet people still vape. So I think that's why I think it's a good move is because now we're talking emotions. And I think that's the right area. If this is the right message, who knows? We'll find out. Salim, you make a good point. Like, is this the right emotional message? Being an emotional message, though, I think is a powerful thing, though.
Yeah, good points. All right, let's move on to the next one. So, is this Bud Light's comeback? Well, it's tackling the NFL's upcoming season with a campaign aimed at reclaiming its audience after, of course, the recent controversies and turbulence. Having stood as a long-standing NFL sponsor, Bud Light faces intensified scrutiny due to its partnership with the fallout with the trans influencer Delaney Mulvaney, which led to a significant drop in U.S. revenue. We all saw that. So they created a campaign, Easy to Sunday, an ad campaign celebrating the cherished rituals of football fans, from devoted New York Giants followers to steadfast military veterans. The campaign portrays real fans engaging in time-honored traditions, all set to a soulful backdrop of Etta James's Sunday Kind of Love. Very nicely use of that song. Dockers did a really good commercial with it too, but I digress. So this venture continues Bud Light's theme of being easy to drink, easy to enjoy, albeit under this guidance of the Martin agency, a departure from the previous agency. They quit with them, with that added allure of a promotional sweepstakes offering, NFL Sunday ticket subscriptions and exclusive packaging. Bud Light aims to reconnect with its audience by honoring this Sunday experience. So, do you think these efforts are going to propel Bud Light back into the realm of marketing studs, or is it going to fall short and be a dud? Let's hear it, guys.
Look, I think Bud Light, I'll start, right? So Bud Light to me is kind of all over the place, right? You've got this campaign, and you've got one that is specifically to the Giants, and there's a Redskins one as well, right? They're dancing around in the Redskins. Like, they're all over the place right now with Bud Light, and these different campaigns aren't doing it much justice. I think they're supposed to be, look, when you look at the football demographics, the idea of love, the idea of dancing around, these aren't things that the Bud Light audience wants, right? They want to be manly sports, hitting each other kind of concepts, right? These are all very much in the same lieu that they're, I guess, for lack of better words, if they don't want to be the gay beer, they need to readjust their messaging and the topics that they're saying, right? Now I might get canceled for this, but I mean, the idea is that they really need to go back to their core and address that audience, and that's what's going to bring them out. But I don't think this is going to work. This is not going to bring them back to life.
Yeah, it's tough. There's no ad that's gonna undo what has happened to Bud Light and how much they've pissed people off. But what I did appreciate from this campaign is that there's a very clear and powerful message that Bud Light is still committed to being a beer for everyone, regardless of their background or beliefs. What I saw in the ad was fans from all different backgrounds coming together to enjoy a Bud Light on Sunday, which sends a message that Bud Light is still a beer that can be around people and bringing people together. They use real fans. Etta James' song Sunday Kind of Love that creates this warm and nostalgic feeling that resonates well with football fans, especially that connection to Sunday. It's a message of inclusion. Bud Light had to do something to show it is moving past the chaos they have created, and a single ad is never going to heal the wounds that they've created. But it focuses on the right things. The very powerful sentiment of Sunday football, people coming together to cherish those football traditions that everyone can resonate with. It's a step in the right direction. And I'm confident that people will start moving on when they see Bud Light double down in a space that they know well and that people love, and that's football. I don't think there was going to be ever anything that's going to be able to please everyone, but Bud Light had to do something, and that's moving on to the next big property that they have a lot of investment into, and that's the NFL and football in general. I think we're going to slowly start forgetting about all of the chaos that Bud Light has created. It was a dark time for the last couple of months for Bud Light and for anybody who saw Bud Light advertising and constantly being critiqued. I think even watching this ad on YouTube and just reading the comments of this ad on YouTube was nuts. Everyone's still calling him out for all the bad stuff in the past, no matter how positive this message looked. But it's a step in the right direction because it's a step forward. And I think that's what's really needed, that Bud Light just really needs to stop fighting this game that they constantly keep losing and start playing a game that they feel like they can win. And that's doubling down on football.
I totally agree. I think doubling down on football is the key here. That was the whole reason this whole issue happened, is because they went away from their core audience, and they will have to do that. It will still take some time. We'll see. I mean, it's going to take some time, but I do want to put my creative hat on for a second. So we've seen brands call out their competitors in creative ways, right? They'll say, "Oh, we're better tasting than Coors Light or Miller Lite," whatever. They'll say that. But could Bud Light do a campaign or an ad where they have like a redneck looking dude inconspicuously buying a case of Bud Light, and then behind him in line is a clear trans activist who's inconspicuously buying a case of Coors Light, and then you have like a middle-aged dad who's sneakily buying White Claw. You question your manhood if you buy seltzer. Then you could have a middle-aged Latino buying Heineken, and then a suburban mom buying Modelo. It could just be this like string of people that are buying things that are not necessarily in line with what you would expect. And then just the tagline could be like, just brew you, or just do you, or something like that. And it could just be where it just levels the playing field, that just quit the drama, just do whatever makes you happy, drink whatever makes you happy. I don't know, Samir, you do this a lot. Like, would something like this ever work?
It's super creative. I really like it. If beer brands can come together as a coalition, like the way soda brands have, like if we've seen Pepsi, Coke, and Keurig Dr. Pepper come together with like recycling initiatives and like fighting against pollution. If beer brands can come together to do something like this, it would be magical. I don't think it would realistically happen because every brand's all of the other brands are winning at Bud Light's loss here. Yep. And I don't think they're going to try to level the playing field because unfortunately leveling the playing field means Bud Light's back at number one. But it's a super creative idea. I love the sentiment behind it of like this like just brew you message it's a very powerful thing that would be very meaningful right now, especially with beer and all the different audiences that are tied to these brands. And I think that's super creative. I love the way you like frame that up. I'd pitch that too.
I agree with Adil. I think the idea here really is if Bud Light can come back with some sort of emotional tag that maybe has nothing to do with drinking beer or drinking anything, right? The idea is if they can create an initiative where it brings other people together indirectly as let's call it a PR campaign or some like well-being of the world type of situation, I think this will really, that would bring them back. So I think, Adil, you're headed to the right direction. Charge some consulting fees to Bud Light. Let's go figure this out. Maybe we can pay for some of the expenses on this podcast that way.
But I'm actually saying the opposite. Is like, don't be emotional with beer. Don't be emotional with drinking. Like, just keep it basic. Just do you, or just brew you. And I think that's what they need to bring back, like real men of genius. And like, I mean, it was such a simple idea, and it worked so well. And that's why Bud Light was at the top of their game, because they got emotional, too inclusive in some senses. That's what caused some of these issues for them. But, you're right, Samir. I don't think this will ever work. The only reason I think it could work is if they can somehow swing it as like an anti-cancel culture type messaging. It's like, quit canceling brands just because your feelings got hurt, And so maybe if they do bring brands to the table and say, hey, we will pay for this ad, just you guys, we don't want you guys to be on the receiving end of something like this in the future.
My favorite beer campaign was always the most interesting man ever.
Oh, that was a good one too.
Those are always the best.
I hated it when they replaced him and tried to run the same thing.
Yeah. So the younger guy, I'm like, no, it's got to be that older. It's like replacing James Bond with like a 21-year-old. Like, you can't replace James Bond. He has to be aged. He has to have like some experience in life. Yeah. Same thing with this guy. You can't be the most interesting man in the world if you're young. You got to be old. You got to be experienced. You got to be able to figure things out.
All right, let's talk about some ice cream. In the past we've talked about how brands are embracing in-store experiences. They're making massive investments to evolve with consumer preferences and making these physical storefronts a valuable part of the brand experience, not just where the transaction takes place. So Haagen-Dazs is redesigning its scoop shops to create a more luscious, artful, almost luxurious atmosphere. We're talking brand new design of signage, materials, fixture shop packaging, dessert imagery, menus, floor, furniture, even uniforms. So the goal here is to make customers feel excited about the space where you enjoy ice cream, one that feels modern but trendy with the new design aesthetic. They're rolling this out across the 208 franchise locations nationwide. So today our panel of experts are going to assess whether Häagen-Dazs' pursuit of redefining its market presence qualifies as a stud, or if it's at risk of falling into the realm of duds. Stage is set. Let the debate commence.
I don't know about you guys, but when I think of Haagen-Dazs, I think of like the box with the candy bar or like the convenience store version of this product. Like I gotta, and it's not public information because I did try to look it up, but I don't know what the cost per, the revenue per store is for Haagen-Dazs compared to like a Baskin-Robbins and Marble Slab, which are, the leaders of the like in-store ice cream experience, or even the Ben and Jerry's, right? These are all in-store experiences that have good ice cream, and I think Haagen-Dazs is trying to play catch up. But I think, from a look, redesigning the store, spending more money in store, is it really going to drive more revenue per store? Maybe a little bit. Like I don't even see any Haagen-Dazs stores around Texas. I see them in Vegas. I was in Vegas last week, and there's about 2 or 3 of them where I was. But I mean, this is I think it's a dud move. I think them redesigning the stores, emphasizing the store value is going to be hard. I think what they need to do is just stick to product sales, work on the convenience store angle, work on the restaurant, the grocery store angle. I think that's where their product shines. I think that's what people remember them by, and I think they just need to double down on that experience versus trying to enhance this in-store experience on their own and try to generate their own direct-to-consumer product.
Yeah, I'm not personally emotionally tied to Haagen-Dazs. Like I'm much more of a sucker for new brands. Like I love it when someone comes in and disrupts something. But I love this for Haagen-Dazs. I think it's a stud for them. If I was on their board or on their team trying to come up with what are we going to do to get people back in, this would probably be the first thing I would even think of is that, hey, how do we make our stores more enjoyable and everything? And there's something nostalgic or something amazing about going and getting ice cream with a loved one, right? That's what me and my daughter do is we'll go to the local gelato shop and we'll sit down, have some ice cream and just talk. And, and those are some really cherished moments. And I think with this redesign of their stores and creating this more elevated feeling, not only will they get some couples in, but they will get some of the people that are loyal to Häagen-Dazs back in and excited about going there. They do need to couple this redesign with a good campaign that hits an emotional string, right? Where you say, hey, there's like, do ice cream dates or something like that. Like that should be their thing, is like where they try to get people back in, and they can't just expect the store design itself to do all the wonders. They have to couple it with the rhetoric needs to be very pathos driven, and it has to have that emotional appeal to it. So I love this for Häagen-Dazs. I think it's a stud move.
Yeah, good points. I think it seems like those examples that you were listing, Salim, it feels right that there is like a space in the market for kind of a higher end ice cream dessert type of experiences. I mean, I wish I wouldn't compare this to just other ice cream shops, but I would compare this to just like any of those kind of Instagrammable dessert shops that are like super indulgent and they want to be focused on the aesthetic. I think I was just in Canada a couple weeks ago. We went into this ice cream shop called Cows, and the entire space is cow print, bright yellow, super like you take a picture there anywhere, you know exactly what that place is. It seems like Häagen-Dazs is trying to find that for themselves versus what seems like all of the other Baskin-Robbins of the world are really just focused on like their product innovation, right, Salim? I think that's kind of what you were saying is like, focus your innovation, your enhancement of your experience on the product and getting it out to your consumers in other ways than your limited physical footprint, which is already a very limited, like occasion based opportunity if you're only serving ice cream, right? But I think it's very interesting of like kind of seeing a luxurious kind of a deal. When you said date, I can't get that out of my head now. Of like, yeah, if I went on a nice date with my wife, like I would want to take her to an ice cream shop that feels a little bit more higher end than Baskin-Robbins, where you're likely going to see some kids running around and fingerprints everywhere, and it feels a little bit more mainstream. Versus a Häagen-Dazs seems like it's trying to appeal to more of a little cafe type of experience where you can sit down and enjoy the space, not just the ice cream. So it's a really good debate at both points that you guys are bringing up.
But let me ask, like, when you think of Häagen-Dazs ice cream, what do you think of? Like, to me, it's like they could redo the stores, they make it look pretty, make it look luxurious, but there's nothing in the ice cream shop that appeals to me to go get ice cream there. Like, their flavors are very just normal, generic flavors. Their ice cream, like, the main thing that I think of Häagen-Dazs is the actual like ice cream bars with the chocolate coatings and which they don't even have in the stores, right? They're serving scooped ice cream in the stores, which isn't freshly made. It's produced massively. I think it's distributed to the store level. It's like having a Bluebell store. Like, why would you have a Bluebell store? Because it's just mass produced and sent to the stores. At least, the other places have it, right? So I'm still missing why somebody would want to go spend. Now, if it's luxurious, I assume it's pricier, right? I'm assuming it's not going to be $3-4 ice cream. Now you're looking at $6-7 ice cream. Now you're in Ben and Jerry's and Jenny's ice cream world right now, right? So I guess the question becomes is what's driving in-store experience and driving more people to come into that store versus going to there. I don't have a reason to ever go to Haagen-Dazs. I wouldn't even think of that for a date or a child, taking my child there, right?
But I mean, Haagen-Dazs is not known for those bars. They built their name in scoops of ice cream, right? And so you may know them that way, but they use their brand to create a consumer product that's in the frozen aisle, right? And that's the bars that you're referring to. From the innovation side, I hope and I pray that they're sitting and thinking of how they're going to create these elaborate desserts within their store. Otherwise, you're right. It's just going to be very generic. But if they don't have something with gold flakes on it that you can put on Instagram and brag about that you spent $100 on an ice cream sundae, then they're missed the mark. They have to do stuff like that. That's the only way they're going to differentiate and bring that brand back is if you can give people an opportunity to get some clout and, or to share with the world that, hey, look, I went and did this thing that not many people get to do. And they need to do that. I hope they're going to do that as part of this whole revitalization. The bars, that just reminds me of like Rayo's pasta sauce and the Rayo's restaurant. Like the sauce gets credibility because of the restaurant. And the same thing, the ice cream bar gets credibility because of the Haagen-Dazs retail brand, right? Like what you know about them in scoops of ice cream.
All right, let us take it into the brands to watch. My brand to watch is JCPenney. That's right. It's coming back. They are reinvesting over $1 billion into the brand. We're talking billion with a B. They filed for bankruptcy in 2020. And then they were taken private after an acquisition. Now, we know when you go private, you are now able to move a lot more freely. You can make some investments. You can place some bets. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're introducing a new kind of brand position and campaign called Make It Count that centers on 4 core areas. 1, making fashion accessible. 2, offering a compelling loyalty program. 3, supporting local and cultural communities. And 4, reinforcing a commitment to positive change in society. They're trying to balance what's familiar, that's that iconic name with that logo, while adapting to those new shopping habits and consumer needs like digital shopping. On the messaging front, the focus is on working families, making their dollar go further without sacrificing style. And with our country dealing with inflation, with an uncertain economy, it could be a compelling shift. The message of Make It Count goes beyond just the consumer message, but it's sort of the mantra for the entire organization when it comes to their merchandising, their supply chain operations, their tech and digital capabilities. They're kind of refocusing their entire organization and giving themselves a new North Star to work towards. We're going to see a substantial increase in marketing investment, a media ramp up that's going to be ahead of the holiday season this year. Now, we know about JCPenney's struggles in the past, but when they're placing $1 billion bet on this play, it's definitely going to be something to watch. I think what they're able to do with this massive amount of investment and pivot is going to drive a lot of what happens to the department store format and in that industry. I think a lot of those major players are going to be watching this to see, can JCPenney turn it around and figure it out? Or are they just headed towards the same dead end that a lot of department stores are? So definitely something to watch this holiday season as you guys shop for apparel and some fashion. Keep an eye out for what JCPenney's saying and what they're talking about.
Man, I'm looking at them. I'm hoping for them. This has got to be like their 5th revitalization. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember when they brought the CEO of Apple over there to get rid of the coupons, and the coupons came back, and then they went into bankruptcy. Then they did the restores and the omni-channel thing. I mean, they've been trying to figure this out. Look, they've got a brand, they've got presence. I'm watching them with you, Samir. I think it's a brand to watch, but I hope it's going up, not down in this scenario.
I agree. I mean, I'm optimistic because they are local to us. They're in Dallas, and we'd love to see them thrive. But JCPenney, let me back up. Have you guys read that book, Tribes by Seth Godin? I know I've referred to him a couple times. He's a genius, but
Nope.
there's what some of these brands don't realize is like the world is more open than ever. We know that, but because of that openness, people now look for smaller tribes to be a part of and not necessarily be like everyone. These department stores thrived in the 1900s, really because they were accessible to everyone. Anyone could go there and shop, and there's different levels, of course. Macy's had their own Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom and JCPenney. They all thrived in their own way, but you don't want to go and get the same things as everyone. And JCPenney is literally that. Like they want you to go and get furniture from them. They want you to get fashion from them. They want you to get perfume. And and Macy's has figured it out because of their e-commerce play. But there has to be more here. They're just, if they really, the $1 billion, yes, I know you said a billion with a B, and it won't go very far unless they really do something huge strategically, and I'm talking about like splitting up their store, acquiring a brand or something. Like they have to do something where it's not, you don't just go through 3 floors of shopping. I don't know how Kohl's is doing, but I know they did try to do the drive up store concept in a lot of shopping centers. JCPenney did, and I wonder if that worked. But I'm optimistic, and I love that that you did talk about them, because now I'm going to definitely keep an eye out, see what they do next. All right. So last month, you guys saw that I was at a trade show in Vegas. It's called Magic. So if you guys haven't heard of Magic, Magic is the largest fashion trade show in the U.S., and it definitely holds its own on a global level too. It's really, really big. So big draw at Magic this time was the D'Amelio footwear line. So the D'Amelio family, that famous TikTok family, they were launching and debuting their D'Amelio footwear brand. And people were walking around with their bags, and they really did a huge push. I even walked by their booth, and it was a huge line to meet the girls and everything. I didn't bother with that, but I just kept going, and I was like, okay, this is another fashion-driven influencer play, right? It makes sense. Well, the D'Amelio family is now launching a snack line. Yes, the TikTok family that I just said last month they debuted a shoe line is now announcing that they are launching a snack line. So this snack line is going to be called Be Happy. So they have a relationship with an undisclosed retailer, and they're going to put those products on their shelves. They don't want this to be a direct-to-consumer play at first. They want to go direct-to-consumer after they've had this product go national across shelves and everything. But really, this is interesting. Like a family that is so driven, they're really going after the Kardashian model of just stamp your name on whatever and go for it. But shoe line, in February, or what was it? Not February. In August, September, we're talking about a snack line. Pretty big jump. So I wonder what they'll do next. I hope it's a beverage line, so it's in line with snacks. But D'Amelio family is a brand to watch.
I'm gonna laugh really hard if they start doing some TikTok videos with these snacks in their hands and they're talking about it that way. Like it's gonna look super cringy. Footwear, I get. They're big into dancing. They're doing a lot of that. Sure, you can kind of naturally fit. But just seeing them like holding like a bag of chips and trying to dance with it is going to be hilarious.
Yeah, people already do it with what's that energy drink brand, Bang Energy and stuff. Like people do stuff with that.
So GM, Ford, Volkswagen, Mercedes, Audi, and all have committed to transforming the majority of their fleet to EVs by 2030. Well, with that only 5 years away now, how's that working out for these Tesla competitors? The federal government is pouring in billions in initiatives with different programs like the infrastructure bill, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Grant, and both GM and Ford have committed to $80 billion in initiatives. But yet, states like Texas are being counterproductive with new taxes on EVs and fees. On the same side, Tesla also just outpaced the Corolla as the most popular car on the road. So this EV space is all over the place. Some guys are up on it, some guys are down on it. They're releasing models left and right. It's not a brand to watch, but I think the EV market itself is a significant brand to watch because everybody's racing towards it, but nobody's outpacing Tesla, and there's not really a second competitor yet.
I'm really confused what Tesla's doing because I got excited with the last price drop. I think last month I was like, oh, maybe we can update, my wife's car now and all this stuff. And then literally like 2 nights ago, I go back on the Tesla website after reserving one a month ago. I go back on the website and I see another one or another price drop. And how frustrating would it be, guys? Like to buy a car and then you lose 10,000 in equity overnight just because they decide to drop the price.
30,000. So my friend bought a Tesla not even a few months back, Model S, and he's down $30,000 from his original acquisition of the car. What they're trying to do, if you read through it, is Tesla's trying to bring the price down so they get qualified for the tax bracket to get the incentives, right? Because that's how they pitch the car. Like, hey, if you buy the car, you get the incentives. But they're priced so high that they break that new law that came into play, which is basically, I don't know, I feel like everybody's anti-Elon or ever since Elon, we can go into this political conversation, but ever since Elon bought X, I think the government is kind of like finding these different loopholes for him to get in trouble. Either it's the Glass House initiative, I don't know if y'all saw that, but they're, it's like, hey, he misused $50,000 of the fund to buy a glass house that apparently he never built. There was SpaceX had some other legal issues that the government was after. But it's the idea here is that he's trying to bring it down so that people can qualify the tax bracket, because that's what he wanted to do, right? He's trying to bring it for the people. However, the people are just fighting him back.
Yeah, Biden hated him before he bought X. It wasn't just X. I think Elon's always been a disruptor, and also Washington is paid for by Detroit automakers, right? So they have to show some loyalty.
And oil and gas.
Yeah, and oil and gas, exactly. So they have to show some loyalty, and they have to hate on the guy that the rest of America doesn't hate. But it's just scary to think, like, as a consumer, that you could buy something and then you lose equity overnight just because they're trying to be competitive for this. What happens to them, right? What happens to your friend who just lost 30K? Does he get, free supercharging at least?
Nope. But for the people that did, for the people that are listening that do actually bought it at a more expensive price, know that when you bought it, the interest rate was lower than it is now. So kind of there's a little bit of gap. Just trying to help you guys out, man. Just trying to make you feel better. That's all.
Yeah, the current interest rate I was seeing is like 6.7 or something on a car. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. We're going to do, that's our weekly installment of Duds and Studs, and we talked about brands to watch. It was a good episode, guys. Good job bringing your best. We'll be posting probably a deep dive later this week. Next week, we do have a really exciting interview to do with, I talked about Magic. So the president of Magic is going to be joining us, and we'll get to ask her some questions. So look out for that. Thanks for watching.
Ciao.
See ya.
Men go mad.
He's gone mad.
Mad Men.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Mad Men.
I'm mad.